We just had a wonderful webinar called Keep the Change. And what Dr. Young and I are going to do here is give you a 5-minute overview of what the webinar is about in case you don't have time to watch the whole thing. But Terry, tell us, what did you talk about when you say keep the change?
Well, Dan, we're seeking to help people, teams, organizations, congregations, when they're working through a change process to literally keep the change, because a lot of change is not kept. We lose the effort, the time, the money, the momentum that we put into change often goes to naught because we haven't thought, I think, deeply enough about some of the basic principles as well as just the wisdom of wise change navigation.
Yep.
So that's why we want to help people, help our CREST alumni and CREST people and others who are just simply looking into CREST to keep the change.
So, change is what leaders are all about. And we do our very best, and we're bewildered why it doesn't work, why it doesn't stick. And I want to suggest that there's at least 6 elements of change that Dr. Young is going to talk about here. You may be only aware of 1 or 2, and so you're just going down your track. 1 or 2, and that's it. You don't realize there's a whole bunch more. This will widen your view. So let's just jump into it here.
And we're providing for you the fuller script of this. So we're simply taking a high level pass on it. We use the idea, the parable of the fence post, the analogy of a fence post. If you, as a team leader, we know we never leave things as they are. If you have a fence post that's white, it doesn't remain white forever. It grays, it weathers, it gets cracked, and you need to renew, you need to refresh. And that's what change is about. That's what transformation is about. So if you have a fence post that is weathered, and you want to change that, then you need to actually do some things that are wise steps to address that. So we deal with these 6 principles, and we're just going to cover them from a high level. And here are the first 3. First of all, wise change leaders sell the problem, not just the solution. They help people see the problem, see the issue, see the challenge, see the weathered fence post, rather than just simply jumping ahead and saying, we're going to have a white fence post. They sell the problem. Secondly, they face the loss, not just the gain. Sometimes we do a really good job of telling people it's going to be so nice when our fence post and our fence is fully refreshed and renewed. But we don't realize that for some people, they may have actually grown in love with the weathered kind of look of the fence post. And they're going to lose something that they've grown accustomed to. And actually, some people like better than a pristine looking fence post. They'd rather have the weathered look. Their identity's been shaped around it. So there's a bit of loss there. Thirdly, you need to shape the vision for what it is you're going to do with your fence, rather than just put together a plan. A plan is not a vision. They're 2 distinct things. So we sometimes mistake our plan that we have in our head about how we're going to approach the change, and we think that's the vision. No, you need to give people a clear idea and a clear vision of why this is important. So those are the first 3. The next 3 that we touch in on for wise leadership, get ready, don't just get going. So sometimes it's amazing how many change efforts you see where people and teams just jump into the change, and they've not thought through the number of things involved in a really effective change. So get ready for your change. Take time to think through the details. Then the 5th point is create short-term wins. Don't just hope for them. This is a very, very important point, is that short-term wins really do help people. It lowers their anxiety about the change. It increases doability. It gives people a sense of control. It also lets people see there's progress towards something that may be a big change, and they get overwhelmed by big change. That overwhelm sense lowers if they can see you taking short-term wins. But you need to plan for them, create them. Don't just hope, early on, I hope we have some wins early on. Actually plan for them. And then finally, embrace the resistance. Don't just endure it. We tend to think we're going to convert everyone at the starting line about our change. It'll never happen. You'll always have resistance, and we have resistance for a lot of reasons. It's wiser to embrace it. And in the longer call that we had this morning in the webinar, someone made this point that we often create an us versus them mentality. We need to really be careful of that. We're in this together, and there are people who resist for all kinds of reasons. Embrace that, learn from it, hear people out. And at the end of the day, there may be people who still say, I really cannot accept a freshly painted fence post. I don't want it, and I'm going to go to another place where they have fence posts like we have right now, and I like that. I'm going to join them. That may happen, but the issue is that wise change leaders sell the problem, face the losses, they shape the vision, they get ready, they create short-term wins, and they embrace the resistance. So even our fence post project requires some skill and wisdom. And we close with this, that you always need to remember, if it isn't a bit strange, it really isn't change. So that's the overview of Keep the Change. This is something that is in the deep dive. It's a bonus or a complementary to the deep dive. We don't go into what we just shared with you here in the deep dive. There's other things there, and we have this deep dive now available in the Crest Academy. It's there for you. And to give you just a brief snapshot of what we cover, we'd encourage you, do this as a team. As you look at the price, you may wonder, well, is that worth the price? We think it is well worth the price. When you think about the time and money and energy that we spend in change, it's well worth the investment to sit down with your team, use this deep dive if it's helpful to you, and go through it. It's about an hour of total material. There are notes, there's bonus material, and you can work through it and then discuss your change context, the thing you're trying to work through, in light of the living the wisdom of the deep dive called Keep the Change.
So I just want to underline this to our listeners here, that if you're a leader, you're trying to initiate some change, it is well worth your time and a little bit of investment to get your whole team to understand what this process looks like, and to make everybody aware of how you're going to manage this, so that when some of the resistance comes up or questioning comes up, your whole team knows how to handle it. It's really important to actually bring your leadership along first, because they will in turn bring the rest of them along. And this greatly enhances the chance that your vision, your effort, and all the time that you're spending on your vision and trying to have a good, better future will actually work. So we commend to you the deep dive. I'm just going to show you where you can go and get it. So here, friends, is our website. And you can see that we have the new deep dive available called Keep the Change. And Terry mentioned all the different things that are a part of that. Well worth your time. And then at the very bottom, you can see the link where you can just, if you type that link into your browser, it'll take you right there, and you can order your copy of Keep the Change. So here's our effort to help you succeed in this crucial element of keeping change.